going to start by saying, one, it's been fantastic to work with Alan. We met here through the interview process that the board was conducting, and it was sort of like, well, are we going to meet this guy in person, or are we going to do all this on Zoom? And, it was the COVID times, and fortunately we all agreed that it would be great to meet Alan, and we met here in the office up in Bristol, actually, and I think it was pretty quick. We were all pretty quick to understand he was the man. And, back to what Alan said, the board, led by Corey, had a lot of courage to do the things that have been done here in the last 18 months. And in particular with Alan, to reach out of the box. It would have been pretty easy to look inside sailing and try to find somebody who ran an America's Cup team or who had some business acumen, but knew our sport really well. And we actually reached out to a guy who I think either had never been sailing before or maybe once or twice in his life. But I think we have enough sailing in this room and in this country to help Alan get up to speed. But what we didn't have was the business acumen and the smarts and the sports savvy that Alan has. And we're all really blessed to have him. And I just want you to know that I'm very, very confident in the situation at U.S. Sailing. As you know, I've been around sailing for all my life, and I've been an observer of U.S. Sailing. And honestly, if 10 or 20 years ago, I would have never seen myself as a U.S. Sailing staff member. But I can honestly tell you I'm very proud nowadays to hand out my business card to people and tell them that I'm working for U.S. Sailing. And to me, that's a huge evolution. And I think what you're going to hear today in this stakeholder summit is going to enlighten you to that. Our fans and friends who are watching on the live stream are getting that message as well. And slowly but surely, the message is going to get out there more from our actions than our words and what we tell you here today. But hopefully today's a little insightful and you have a chance to ask questions. So obviously I'm going to talk a lot about the Olympic. I'm not going to talk a lot. I set myself an alarm, Josh, so if my phone goes off, I'll stop talking. But I'm going to focus on the Olympics, and I am very focused on the Olympic team. That's my focus, just like when I went to the Olympics myself, or when I raced around the world, or when I took on America's Cup teams. It's 100% of my focus. It's 7 days a week. It doesn't matter what day it is or what holiday it is, I'm on. So I do find time to enjoy myself. Don't worry about that. But it doesn't mean it has to be on a weekend or on a holiday. And that's just the nature of competing. To me, once I'm in something, the clock is ticking. Right now it's ticking to Marseille, but it's also ticking towards LA. And so the clock is always ticking, and you can either make something of that minute or you can let it go by. So sometimes the minutes that I got to make use of are on Christmas Day, but that's just the nature of the mindset of a competitor. So I'm going to talk a lot about that, but I just want to say that the path to the podium, that's kind of what we call it. Obviously, we will probably be measured by how many gold medals we win in LA. That's an easy thing to do and point at. But why is this important? Is it important for the gold medals? Or is there a bigger picture here? And the case I'm making is there's a bigger picture here, and it fits in line with everything that Alan has said and everything the board is trying to cultivate, which is we are leading a movement of excellence in our sport. And hopefully the Olympic team, which has the opportunity to represent on the biggest stages in our sport, World Championships, Olympic Games, can be, I don't mean this in an egotistical way, but because we have the stage, the athletes will have the stage, maybe the pointy end of the spear upon which we are all part of. And we're all riding towards excellence. So when we win Olympic medals, first of all, we have built a depth of talent in those classes that goes on to do other things. My first Olympic trials, I finished second in Los Angeles. I went on to have a 30-year career. A guy named John Kostecki was at those trials as well. He was 20 years old. He went on to build a campaign and compete in Korea with our past president, Corey, and get a silver medal, and went on to have a great career. So it isn't just about the 15 athletes that go to the Olympics. Right after that, there's a pyramid of talent, a depth of talent that goes on to race and compete and maybe be in the industry like a Kenny Reed. And so there's that. Then there's the kids in the parking lot walking around, or maybe here at the club, at Connecticut Yacht Club, who get to rub shoulders with Corey Sertle and be inspired and motivated to themselves get involved in sailing. The high school kids at Culver Academy. And then there's all of us. And we have something to be proud of. We salute and we're honored that our athletes are doing well. And so we have a bigger association. We have more fans. Maybe we grow the sport. And so we fulfill this circle that is U.S. sailing. So our focus is very narrow because it has to be. We have to be on our weightlifting, we have to be on our nutrition, we have to be on our recovery, we have to know our equipment, but we are part of a bigger picture. And that's the cool thing about what we're building here at U.S. Sailing. I can't do anything without Katie Alley. Oh, there it goes. Good. Yeah, thank you. So the vision is sustained preeminence in Olympic sailing. The mission is to build a program that produces elite athletes who continuously excel in international competition. Josh asked Alan, what's the definition of success? So I'm going to ask myself the question because I want to tell you my definition of success for myself. And that is to build a machine that produces the top competitors, or competitors who are able to compete with the other countries for the podium in Olympic classes year in and year out. So that's 2027. Yes, that's 2028 at the Olympics, but it's also 2029 and 2030 and 2031. So this machine that produces these top-level athletes and all those that finish second and third and fourth, that pyramid, needs to be sustainable in both talent and finance. It does take money to make this wheel go around. So what we're building on the U.S. Olympic sailing team, in conjunction with the U.S. Sailing Foundation, Bill Rue's here in the crowd, a lot of the members are here. I see Glenn Darden. I know Brian Keene's here. What we're building is that machine. And so for me personally, the definition of success is when my time is up, and emotionally, I'll just tell you, if they allow me to be around, I'm emotionally committed to do this certainly through Los Angeles, 7 years, because I think it's going to take that long to build it. In fact, that's probably pretty ambitious. And I mean that we are competing and beating Great Britain. Great Britain built that machine. It took 15 or 20 years. We're going to try to do it in 7 years. Now, we come from a pedigree of being there. When I was on the '84 Olympic team, the worst we did was that Steve Benjamin, some low sailor from the East Coast, got a silver medal. That's the worst we did. We won nothing but silver and gold. Now that's a record that'll never be replicated, not even by us. I'll stick my neck out that far. But Great Britain won medals in 5 out of 10 classes. Germany and Denmark won medals in 3 classes. So, I expect us in 2028 and 2027 and 2029 to be competing on that level. So that's my definition of success. What are the pillars that we're building this machine on? Elite athleticism. This is a concept that every human being needs to be trained to put on their A game when it counts. Whether you're the CEO of U.S. Sailing, the CEO of Amazon, or a sailor or a golfer, there's a whole set of things you need to do that don't happen on the water. It's not about the outhaul tension. It's about being the best version of yourself. In America, we know this game very, very well. And I had the privilege, when you go to the Olympic Games, you ride in the bus with the girls who are running the 100-meter high hurdles or whatever it is. And I go, oh, what do you do? She goes, well, I stretch for 2 hours, and I warm up for another 45 minutes. Then I run for 11 and a half seconds. And then I sit in an ice bath for 2 hours. And then I eat not a power, but whatever. I eat a leaf of lettuce. And then I sleep for about a day and a half. Wow. I'm thinking we sail for 5 hours, we get sunburned, we come in, and we're really thirsty, so we drink about 5 beers. Anyway, we're going to have elite athletes. We're working on that. Female skippers, it turns out, and I said this wrong in the board meeting yesterday, I think I said anatomically. I woke up in the middle of the night going, it's not anatomically, it's physiologically. Isn't that right? It's the physicality of it. Anyway, it turns out that it's strategically advantageous to have female skippers the way the Olympics is going. Mixed 470. You're going to have a lighter person on the helm or the lighter person on the wire, as an example. The NACRA. The FX, of course, is both women. The boards. So, and in general, we need to really cultivate our female sailors. So we're working on programs for that. I had some very nice and fun examples. I did a little divergence this summer. I was between Harkin and sailing we have a furniture race that I like to do in Michigan every year. I actually own the 1964 gold medal Star because a mentor of mine, Durwood Knowles from the Bahamas, won the gold in that boat. I bought it, and there's a guy out there in Michigan on Gull Lake, and they started this furniture racing class. So we all have these wood boats that we spent way more money on than my real race boat, which is in Miami. And anyway, I was between there. I went to Culver Academy, made a little speech to the kids there, great sailing team. And their two best sailors are girls. One is Sophie Dolan. I'm not remembering the second girl, but anyway, 17-year-old girls thinking about their college. And they've emailed me, and I'm working with Leandro Spina to help them map out their future. And it's super cool. World-class coaches. Okay, would I be a good coach? Probably not. I've been to the Olympics. I've been around the planet a couple times. But that doesn't qualify me to be a good coach. There's a lot of skill sets that you need to have to be a good coach. And we are going to upskill our coaches. They need to understand nutrition. They need to understand sports psychology. They need to have an awareness of mental health issues. Not that they should try to coach anybody in mental health, but to refer people. They need to understand the best technologies that are out there for acquiring data, analyzing data, regurgitating the data to the athletes in a way that's usable in a short period of time. So we are going to work hard with the coaching staff. The athlete pipeline is something that we have in place pretty good. We started that about 8 years ago. It was called Project Pipeline. You know it as ODP, Olympic Development. We were, in my days, if someone won the Youth Worlds in a class, it was kind of a big deal in the United States. The Kiwis always won the Youth Worlds. Well, in 2017, 2018, and 2019, the United States of America is the #1 country at under 19 sailing. I don't know how many of you know that, but we were third as a nation, first as a nation, and then third again in those 3 years. So we have created a great pipeline. We're going to double the size of that pipeline, but that's in place. Now, for years, we've lost people to college. I mean, college is great. You got to go to school, get a good education. How many of you guys are college football fans? I mean, today's the day. I guess the real ones aren't here. All right. How much TV money does Michigan generate for their TV rights to the school? $325 million a season. How much time does the Michigan football team train? They're limited, so they lift in the summer. Okay, about 5 months. train, play. How much time does the Yale sailing team spend training and sailing? 9 months. How much money do they generate? Not much. The point is, why do we have to have these kids sailing around in Club 420s for 9 months to get ready for a national championship in May? And way before my time, this has been a bone we've had to pick with the college sailing. I wrote a little letter after Tokyo. Some of you may have read it, an open letter. I think it was in Scuttlebutt. And anyway, I got some nice emails back from the Zach Leonards, the Franny Charles at MIT, and various coaches saying, hey, how can we help? Boom, open the door. I'll tell you how you can help. Ease up on these kids. Let them go sail on their Olympic boats if they want to. So I'm working on a program that the kids who want to sail Olympic boats will sail their Olympic boats in the fall season. We will organize and build a collegiate Olympic national championship that will take place in Florida in the winters, in their Christmas break. And when they come back to school in the end of January, February, they can go sail around in the FJ or the 420 for 3 months to get ready for the national championship. And I'll tell you what, I'll make the case that the kids who sail the Olympic boats in the fall and then do that will be better than the ones who are just about asleep having sailed the thing for 9 months. Domestic platform. We need to repatriate greatness in America. And that's really close to a phrase that I don't really want to latch on to, but when I was a kid, if I went to a star race in San Diego, well, I was a member of the San Diego Star Fleet, and on the weekend races, it was me, Vince Brune, and Mark Reynolds racing each other every weekend. We need to build that depth of competition in the United States. So to do that, we've started with something called the US Open Series. We used to have a Miami OCR once a year in Florida, right? Well, now we have 6 of them. There's 3 in Florida in January, and there's 3 on the West Coast in the summers. We also have Oak Cliff, which is a great program out here on the Sound, on Long Island Sound, down that way. And they have a great event in October. So the circuit of, let's say, those 7 events is the foundation. It's the boiler room, in Alan's terms, of building strong domestic sailing here. It's useless for these kids who aren't ready to do it to go over to Medemblik. Has anybody, you've heard of Kiel maybe, Kiel Week, and drift around over there for a week with the mosquitoes and finish 47th and spend 20 grand doing it. We need to build that strength here. And we have a great hook, which is that LA's coming. So the world is going to want to come to our turf. What we need to do is build an infrastructure of events underlying that such that people want to come to the United States even beyond LA because we are the center of the universe. Right now, the center of the universe seems to be in Europe, but we need to build a path to have that here in the United States. Technology and engineering. Kind of obvious. I talked a little bit about the software tools that are out there to help train and acquire data and help the learning process, accelerate the learning process. Then, of course, you have the technology of the boats themselves. The NACRA's super high-tech kiteboarding. I'm looking at these kiteboarding kids. They're sailing upwind and 40 apparent, okay? So if you know anything about lift and drag, right? Drag goes up by the square of the speed. And I'm looking at these kids and they're wearing their life jackets hanging out on the side and their pants are baggy and their helmets on sideways. And I'm like, dude, you could probably gain a knot and a half if you looked like a speed skater. Just put a speed skating suit on. So anyway, there's a lot of work to do in technology and in engineering. And guess what? The United States of America is awesome in technology and engineering, right? So the good news is we don't live in Guatemala. We don't live in even Argentina. We have everything you need in the United States of America to be the best in this game. We can win this game. And the knock-on effect of that is, as I said, the inspiration for the kids. Hey, how about, I have a new idea. What if we had an American skipper on the America's Cup boat? We could try that, maybe. Maybe we could get good enough to steer our own boats. New class development. What's really cool about that, the kiteboard thing, so I hung out a lot with the kiteboarders and the radial girls this summer with Anna Tunnicliffe. I'll get to that in a second. But the new classes, the kiteboards, they have a spirit of being together and working as a squad that is unmatched. And I'm so happy about it because the squad mentality is something that we are building in this team. And working together is the only way we're going to raise the bar. Everybody on their own island is not going to work. So we're making a lot of progress there. Obviously, for me, riding around in the coach boat with Anna Tunnicliffe this summer with Charlotte Rose, with all the girls, but Charlotte Rose is one of those girls who won 2 gold medals in those youth worlds I talked about before when we dominated. Double gold medalist already. She's 20. That's, you talk about potential for LA, maybe even sooner. Anyway, right, and then her coach is the gold medalist from 2008. It's awesome. More athlete support. So this is where we get into the money thing, but it's kind of a wheel spin to have someone be a bartender on a Saturday night till 2 a.m. and then get up and think about having to go out and either train or race the next day. It's just, you're not going to win like that. You can do it, but you're not going to win. You're not going to beat the Brits who don't have to do that. The Brits have their resource. The kids are focused on their training. They're focused on their sleep. They're focused on their nutrition. And they get the results. Career connections. Another impediment is the anxiety that the athlete has and the parents have about a 22-year-old saying, well, let's see, it's 2022, I could do the Olympics in 2024 maybe, and then another one in my home country in 2028, but that's 6 years, I got to commit 6 years to being basically a professional athlete. And then the parents are like, well, geez, don't you think you should get a job with that Yale University degree we just paid for? So what we need to do, in sailing, it's not a huge sport, but we are, wow, my alarm's already going off, Josh. I'm not even halfway through. Talking about cranking up the anxiety. Where's Josh? There he is. Look, Josh. It's 11:30. No, it's 11:15.
Just work it out. We got a couple questions.
Yeah. So sailing's not huge, but the demographic of sailing is that we have a lot of sea-level people who have boats, motorboats, sailboats, sea-level people in large corporations. So it shouldn't be very hard. We ask for money all the time. I don't, but Bill Rue does. Corey does. But we can also ask people to help us by giving our athletes, which by the way are amazing human beings. I would also put out there that a person who goes to Yale and then goes and tries to go to the Olympics, either does or doesn't, it's a master's degree. You learn the difference between winning and losing. You learn what are you going to do when you get knocked down? You're going to get up and try harder, or are you just going to cave? So there's a lot of great personal traits that are very desirable for companies with high-level athletes. So we're actually, in my opinion, offering them great talent. But the point is we want to start a bank of opportunity. We need a bank of money, but we need a bank of opportunity for our athletes so that they and their parents know that along the way they could have an internship maybe in their area of interest, a couple months here, a couple months there during that 6-year path, that they will have an opportunity for an interview for a job in one of these companies. And this is another way for our community to support what we're doing. All right, let me see if I can do the next 16 slides in 1 minute. All right, summing up, what are we doing? We're going to help more athletes. We're going to give them more support, but we're also going to increase the efficiency. The domestic platform is basically a big way of being efficient, right? I told you. Why should we send someone over to Kiel and spend, ship the boat, spend 10 days over there, spend 20 grand doing it to get 47th? No, that person now, if you're going to go over and win the world, our top athletes are going to travel. But the base needs to train right here. That's the efficiency I'm talking about. Alan said it already. to date, we've raised $23 million for this whole concept. This whole concept was developed in a project that I was involved in with McKinsey Company. Short blurb and shout out to Brian Fox and Clay Bischoff if they're watching. Two great guys, Harvard sailing team, Clay Bischoff, Collegiate Sailor of the Year, I think 1998 at Harvard. I got hooked up with these two guys. I said, guys, we need to make a strategy. How are we going to move the United States back to the top of the podium? Brian and Clay and 9 of their colleagues, some were from foreign countries, worked on a project with me and the team for 6 months, pro bono, and we created a document called Project Pinnacle. It's 54 pages of how to get there. Are we going to follow that to the T? No, but it was a great study. It was a great place to start. And we have raised $23 million for Project Pinnacle to date. We do have a long way to go, though, so if you feel like pulling out your checkbook, please feel free. All right, I'm not going to dwell on this. This is one of those, there's a roadmap. We've ticked some boxes. We've definitely done everything we were supposed to do in April. As you can see, one of the things was bigger than the Olympic program. It was the overall governance of U.S. sailing, the leadership of U.S. sailing. That's very, very important. As I said before, we have a solid team of true professionals at U.S. sailing right now, and the Olympic program is just one part of that. I'm working on building a base. I'd like us to have a permanent base in Long Beach. Long Beach for the obvious reasons for 2028, but even beyond, it's not a bad place. It's a little more complicated. As you can imagine, dealing with local governments is not easy, but we're working. We have a very good agreement in place, just newly renewed with the U.S. Sailing Center in Miami. So we're going to be souping that up with a full compound of containers, and our friend John Schorndorf has been very instrumental in that. Our treasurer, the Minister of the Loot, John Schorndorf. All right, I want to say a word about para, a couple words about para. The United States of America has been one of the dominant countries in the Paralympics. Unfortunately, the Paralympics were voted out of the for sailing, were voted out of the 2020 and 2024 Olympics. Hi, Dave Reed. How you doing? I recognize you. I saw you taking a lot of notes. We're working really hard to get the Paralympics back into the games for LA. And Betsy Allison's here. She's the leader of the band. Hi, Betsy. Stand up, Betsy. Everybody should know Betsy. 5 times Rolex Yachtswoman of the Year. Our most decorated woman's female sailor, and great champion for the sport, great champion for the para. And so right now we're in a phase of working with World Sailing to get in a position to put in the application to IOC for the Para Games. I think, yeah. And so between now and Christmas, it's kind of an open period where we're lobbying. There's something called Back the Bid. You can Google it, talk to Betsy. But if you'd like to help support getting the para back into the Olympics, as we all do, please take an active role and chime in on Back the Bid. All right, our ground zero. I don't want to go through this too much. What I want to tell you is that another thing philosophically is that we need to be a team. The one thing the America's Cups taught me, one of the beautiful things about the America's Cups, especially when you do the America's Cup in a foreign country, is you move the whole team to a location, the families, the whole thing, and you are so together. And so that focus and that camaraderie and that tightness is so powerful. It's one of your biggest strengths. Of course, you're working on your sales and your design and your jibe sets and all, but you're doing it so together that that becomes another power. And how together you are is critical. I can tell you it's a big factor in the around the world race too. As you can imagine, out in the Southern Ocean, there's 10 guys in a shoebox, 10 girls in a shoebox. So in sailing, though, the thing is, it's just too easy that the NACRAs go off on course Charlie and the lasers are on this way, and Maybe they're not even in the same country. And so if you're not careful, you can just be this disparate group of people all following a different story, a different path. And yet we have so much in common, and we have so much to share and so much experience to gain from each other. So we're going to have twice a year an all-team camp. The winter one will be in Miami. It's already slated. We're doing it on January 3rd to 10th this year. And the summer one will be in Long Beach. And we're going to do it every year. And we're all going to get together. We're going to be about 80 strong with the sailors. We're going to invite even some of the upper level kids to join in with the Olympians. It's all about building the strength, building the depth. And we're going to have expert speakers come in. We're going to have some of the best coaches in the world, Steve Hunt, James Lyon. We're going to have Paul Beaker come in and give us a talk about hydrodynamics, the guy who designed all the boards and foils for Oracle. We're going to have meteorological study. We're going to have a sports psychologist come. We're going to have a nutritionist come. So we're all working out in the gym together. We're going to all have breakfast together. We're all going to hear something interesting and learn something together. We'll have a little lunch. We'll go sailing. Each class will debrief in their groups because the debriefs are specific. And the next morning we'll go wake up and do it again. If I had it my way, I'd do it 3 months of the year. But this does cost money, so right now it'll be a week. Anyway, there's a lot of things going on. I ran out of time about 15 minutes ago, so the last thing I want to say is, I've said this, this is more than an Olympic team thing that I'm doing with Leandro and Luther and Merritt. This is, we need all of us. This has to be a movement. I hope everybody cares about this for the reasons that I said. It's bigger than the 3 or 5 or 6 gold medals we're going to win in LA. It's about getting the United States of America into a stronger position in the world pecking order of sailing. And it's about the inspiration that will do for our kids. And about our pride, all of us, even those of us who, I won't sail in the Olympic Games again, but even when I'm 75 or 80 and I'm long gone, it will really make me happy to see the United States of America well represented around the world. So I invite you to join. Before you come up here, thank you.
Paul Cayard, everyone. Thanks, Paul.
I'm going to make one presentation.
All yours.
So, sorry, Josh. Lunch is postponed to 3:30. I want to invite Commodore Beale up here. Charlie. Actually, I want to invite Corey up here too. So, this is a flag from Tokyo, signed by the whole team. We didn't win any medals in Tokyo, but this is the beginning. We're starting ground zero. We're building a great team, a great machine. And I gave a flag like this to Culver Academy when I visited the kids there a couple months ago. And I want to give this flag to the Connecticut Yacht Club. You have some Olympians already. Hopefully you're growing many more. And we are super proud of Connecticut Yacht Club and happy to have you part of the team.
Thank you very much. And while it's nowhere near comparable in size, nor does it have any signatures on it, we are thrilled, by the way, to have you here. It's very exciting. We're very proud to host this institution and its important mission, support it in any way we can. And as a little token, here is our CYC Virgin. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you. Here, Charlie, hold it. That's,
Thank you.
well, thank you, Charlie, Commodore.
You got another presentation?
No, I got this. No, I don't have another presentation. I think
No more slides?
I think the president or the chairman or whatever we call him, the president's going to make a presentation later, but to Charlie. So, thank you, Charlie.
Well, let's stick up here for a second. Paul Cayard, everyone. And Paul, you are on a roll. We didn't want to cut you off. Inspiring to the whole organization. But Paul will be back up and the leadership panel at the very end of the day. So if you have any questions, please hold them to that time. I did have one question that came in that you and I talked about before. We just wanted to hit on before we broke. And you talked about it a little bit in your presentation in terms of the need for funding for the team to be able to have success. And I think you and I both know, and some other people know, that it was recently said in a very popular sailing-related newsletter that perhaps maybe the problem is that there's too much money in the sport. So I'd love your thoughts on that.
That's comical. Yeah. I think there's a difference between, I think the point, first of all, I was the person in that conversation with Santiago Lang that was referred to in this article you might have seen in Scuttlebutt, and somebody pontificated that the problem with the U.S. Olympic sailing team is that we have too much money. Meanwhile, obviously Great Britain spends 3 or 4 times the amount of money we have. And it isn't just about the money, by the way. Someone could give you $100 million. Doesn't mean you're going to win. You have to be organized. You have to do the right things. You have to, use the resource the right way. So, but Santi's point to me was, and Santi's Ago Lang, gold medalist in the NACRA in Rio, and he's about my age. We did an America's Cup together. When I won the Star World Championship in '88, I stayed in his mother's home. So I go way back with Santi, and that was one of the beautiful things for me of being in Tokyo, is I was with Santi, with Torben Grail, with Ian Percy, all these guys that I used to compete against in the Olympics, and they're still in the game. So I'm picking their brains, And Santi said to me, Paul, you have a cultural problem, which is your kids are used to having too much. And what he was saying is, he said, in Argentina, the kids, their moms don't drive them to the soccer practice in a minivan with, and then take them out to Chick-fil-A after. And no. We go to this dirt field on the corner. It's not even a soccer field. It's just a dirt lot. We got no shoes. One kid has a ball. We kick the ball around for about 5-10 years, and then out of that comes a Lionel Messi. That's how we make the athletes. And so what he was saying, now, soccer, sure, you need shoes. To be a pro, you're going to spend a couple $100 for sure. Well, an NACRA costs $60,000. We're in a sport that just has equipment, like maybe cycling or rowing. Those rowboats can't be free. So, but what his point was is coddling. And we do coddle. In this country, your parents fill out your application to Yale for you. Your mom drives you to the soccer practice and takes you out to Chick-fil-A after, and if you fall down and scrape your knee, she's right there to pick you up. And that is the distinction between being, a hardened killer, which you have to be to ultimately win. It's a mindset that you are on your own. You're not waiting for someone to pick you up. You will control your own destiny. You will assure your own victory. You will leave no stone unturned. I think that's a Dennis Conner phrase, but that's what he did. Dennis Conner, right out here in my first America's Cup, he was practicing till 7 o'clock at night every night. He was assuring his own victory. That's the point. So it's misguided to say that we have too much money. No, we don't. We need to triple the budget. The budget's about $4 million now. We need to go to $12 million. Are we going to get there in 2022? No. We're going to go halfway, though. We're going to increase the budget by 50% for next year, thanks to all of you and some great donors who believe in Project Pinnacle and where we're going. So we're making a big step next year. We're going to triple the amount of direct athlete support in 2022. We're going to stop them from having to be bartenders. So I think, Josh, that's the difference. It's coddling versus money. And coddling is a cultural thing in the United States compared to some other countries.
Thanks, Paul. One last round of applause for Paul Cayard.